So let's quickly go into the fights to make after UFC 314 for all the winners and some of the losers from UFC 314's main card. Starting off with Dominic Reyes. As he said, he wanted a fight before having a title shot. And after his amazing performance at light heavyweight UFC 314, I think Dominic Reyes could potentially get a rematch against Yuri Prochazka, or after Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree have their fight at UFC Baku, why not him fighting the loser of that fight, because potentially the winner of that fight will get a title shot. So before fighting for the title, maybe Dominic Reyes could fight Khalil Roundtree versus Jamal Hill, or as I said, fight Yuri Prochazka to see what Yuri Prochazka versus Dominic Reyes 2 would create as a fight. So that's my suggestions for Dominic Reyes. Next up, we have Bryce Mitchell-Silva. I think Bryce Mitchell needs to go back to the drawing board. Jean Silva, however, is now ranked 11 in the featherweight division. And I think we should give him to an Aljamain Sterling or a Brian Ortega or Arnold Allen, just to see how he would wear against someone like that. But I'd love to see a Jean Silva versus Aljamain Sterling, particularly. I think those guys would be explosive and electric in the octagon. So I'd love to see that. For Yair Rodriguez, a fight against Diego Lopez would be the only way to conclude post-UFC 314 matchmaking. As you guys might have seen at the UFC 314 press conference, despite not fighting each other on Saturday night, Yair Rodriguez and Diego Lopez got it on the mics and were obviously insulting each other in Spanish. I didn't understand everything they said, but if I understand correctly, they had a bit of beef back in the day, and now it's coming back to fruition. And I think this fight would be great to see, honestly. These guys have great abilities stylistically, and stylistically they would be a great matchup for each other. Why not? Because it's a money fight, guys. Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopez is just obvious. We have to make that fight. For Patricio Pitbull, I think the best option for him would be someone that's lower ranked, maybe Dan Ige or Qatar, who just got into the top 15 after his last performance, his win via decision. Or, as I said, Dan Ige, that would be great to see him fight again. And why not against a new Pitbull from Bellator? Next up, Michael Chandler. Not really sure what to say about him. I'm going to mostly talk about Paddy. Paddy shouted out 4 people on Saturday night, including Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, and Charles Oliveira. I think out of these 4 guys, obviously Conor, I'm not even going to say what I think of that. But out of the 3 guys that are currently actively in the UFC lightweight division, the best option to go for would be a Charles Oliveira, because we've seen how Charles Oliveira was able to beat a Michael Chandler. We've seen how Paddy Pimblett was able to beat a Michael Chandler. Not the same thing. So I'd love to see how these guys would be able to meet in the octagon and what would happen in this fight, because I think Paddy Pimblett has a great chance of potentially beating Charles Oliveira, former UFC lightweight champion. So I'd love to see how that goes out. If it's not Charles Oliveira, then why not Justin Gaethje? That would be a great test for Paddy Pimblett and a great test for Gaethje to come back into the octagon again. As we know, Dustin Poirier, even though he was shouted out by Paddy Pimblett, I'm not sure that something's going to happen, because he's obviously looking to fight Max Holloway before leaving the UFC or retiring from MMA. So I don't think Dustin Poirier is an option for Paddy Pimblett. So between Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira, who would you like to see Paddy Pimblett fight next? Potential matchups after UFC 314 for Alexander Volkanovski. That is an obvious answer. Evloev, he's been screaming and shouting. He wants a fight against either Volkanovski or Lopez. He wants to fight for the belt. And now that the champion is Alexander Volkanovski, he would like a fight against Volkanovski. And Volkanovski, as well as Lopez, before fighting on Saturday, said they would like a fight against Evloev. That's what must happen after Saturday night's victory for Alexander Volkanovski. As for Diego Lopez, as I said, Yair Rodriguez. So that's my what's next for the fighters after UFC 314. What's next for you for these fighters after UFC 314? Are there any guys from the prelims and the early prelims that you'd like to see next fight someone you know or you like? Let me know in the comments down below.